This week on the Four Rivers Ag Report, the Crop Report boys are back for this month's farming equivalent of talking to a first grader. How are the crops? Fine. What do you want? Rain. And you think it's dry here and now, it could be much worse. And an old man remembers his old man. All that and much more on the Four Rivers Ag Report. Welcome to the Four Rivers Ag Report. I'm Fred Peralta. Newsflash, it rained last week. Not much and mostly not around here, just enough to spot up my car. The NASS reported an average of about 1/10 of an inch across the state, ranging from 2/10 of an inch in the northwest part of the state to less than 100ths of an inch, you guessed it, around here. Other numbers in the report, corn statewide is reportedly looking good with an average height of 29 inches. Soybeans are at 96% emerge. Wheat crop is reported at 97% turning, 74% ripe, and over half of the crop is harvested. In the east-southeast district, corn is standing tall at 42 inches, and soybeans are at 99% emerged. But the stats show what every farmer can see for themselves. It is dry. No one statewide is reporting a surplus of moisture. The state is reporting 26% very short, 52% short, and 22% adequate topsoil moisture, and 24% very short, 48% short, and 28% adequate subsoil moisture. Locally, we're at 36 very short, 44 short, and 20% adequate topsoil, and 31, 47, and 22 very short, and adequate subsoil. Makes my mouth dry just reading those numbers. So those are the figures from the number crunchers. What about what you see in your field? That's why every month I get the band back together and we sing a song of It Depends. Let's see what our guys on the Four River Crop Survey team are seeing in the field. First, we head to Champaign County and the lovely town of Sodorus, where we find a fellow of few words, Bob Stahan. Bob, what's up with you?
Well, you know, we have had an interesting growing season, and it certainly doesn't look like it's going to change any. We've had a little bit of rain.
Yes.
And I certainly don't want to brag about that because I know there's a lot of areas that haven't had it. The crop has showed some real signs of stress. Mm-hmm. And, of course, a little shower alleviates it, but not for long, and then we see the signs of stress reoccur.
Yeah.
So it's a constant worry. Some of the soybeans have had some emergence problems because of dry soils, and they did not germinate with the rest of the field, so there's some uneven stands of soybeans, but I guess an uneven stand would be better than a stand that might be hard to live with all summer, which I've seen some of those, and it looks like it's going to be a tough break for those guys because if they haven't had rain and the germination time frame has passed, then they're going to live with a stand that's certainly not ideal. We got some corn in the area that may be getting close to tasseling.
I've heard that.
It is small. And I understand by small I'm thinking 4.5 to 5 feet. Of course, it's going to grow some as tassel emerges. And I have been a little bit concerned that tasseling at a smaller size might mean literally that a small factory is a small yield.
Okay. What stage is your corn at?
Well, actually, our corn is probably near shoulder height.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to be fairly uniform. So I'm certainly not going to complain about the corn crop. The corn crop looks good. It looks good in this area.
Right.
The beans are another story, as I previously mentioned. But
well, I've been asking other folks, have you seen any pests around?
You know, one of the pests that I'm aware of and concerned about is that when the lightning bugs are out, then you got the rootworm problem right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the corn has resistance to the rootworm, and we have planted non-GMO corn, which required putting on insecticide. And so I feel fairly confident. Hopefully we've had enough rain to activate the insecticide so that the rootworm problem isn't going to be an issue. And, of course, one of the things we're trying to do these days is figure out what's going to happen the rest of the growing season. What do we need to do to try to help that corn crop along, getting through the stress that it's going to go through. And fortunately, we've been lucky enough. I mean, I think you have to think of the positives, and the positive is we haven't really had relentless heat.
Yes, that's very true. Well, thank you, Bob.
You bet.
And now just across the Edgar County line is our good friend Cam Brown. And Cam, let me predict what you are going to tell me. Sure would like a little rain.
Boy, you've got that right, Fred. I tell you what, and surprisingly, the corn's doing fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some beans that's a little lazy about coming up, but they keep coming every day, and that surprises me. I don't know how.
So how much rain did you get that last rainfall?
We got just a trace. It covered the bottom of the gauge.
Yeah, it looked like it was drying up the further east it went.
Yeah, it did. But we didn't get much of anything on any of our farms.
So, what stage is your corn at?
It's about B6 or 7.
Okay.
About waist to chest high.
Okay.
And it's just, I'm really happy with the corn.
So if you were driving by, it looks great.
You know, all of it looks great driving by.
Mm-hmm.
And, I know there's some problems with some of the earlier planted stuff out there, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, all the problems go away if we get some more rain, isn't it? The case.
It does wonders, Fred. It really does.
Just add water. Okay. Any pest problems?
No, not that I've seen.
Okay.
I've been fortunate so far. I've seen some reports. There's been some rootworm beetle reported in Edgar County, and I haven't witnessed that myself yet. And I'm surprised the Japanese beetles haven't started in our area yet.
No.
They typically do.
So you're at about you said S8?
Yeah.
F7
to F8.
Okay. And are they in a holding pattern? Or are they still growing?
No, continues to grow.
Mm.
It's everywhere from waist high to chest high, and it's really looking good. But I think the corn had a better opportunity to get rooted down good, and the beans, they'll do okay. They can take some harsher weather, the heat and stuff.
Okay.
Wait on a rain. We're fortunate in this area. Our soils are good enough that they hold a lot of moisture, even though it doesn't seem like it. But
well,
we don't suffer near as quickly.
Well, do you know any rain dances?
A few, but they've never worked over the years, Fred.
Okay. Well, thank you, Cam.
Okay, Fred. Nice talking to you.
Now let's head south to Cumberland County, where we find Leroy Scott. And Leroy, wet or dry?
Well, we've been extremely dry. We had rain come through there a couple of days ago. We just got 1/10 out of it, and was very disappointed, hoping to get more. And so for the month of June, that brought us up to I think it was a total of 1/10. So we're really short on rain. It's really dry down here. But the crops are looking pretty good considering the fact that it hasn't rained.
So it's no rain, but still looking good, or a little bit of rain, but still looking good. What stage is the corn at?
We're not getting close to tasseling. So I think as long as the corn doesn't tassel, that we'll be all right. Once it gets to tasseling and we don't have moisture, I think it'll really be hurt a lot worse. But it's rooting down, and I've even heard some agronomists say that this is good for the corn. But most of us would like to see some water and see the corn
take off.
Going very, very slow.
Right. So, how are your beans looking?
As a whole, they look good. We were fortunate and got our beans up. There are a lot of fields around where there are big spots that are not emerged because of the dry weather. But as a whole, our beans look pretty good, and then they're hanging on like the corn. They're doing all right. But again, it's dry. But if we can get rains, I don't think our yields are hurt that bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're cut a little, but it's not severe yet.
Okay. So, in short, everything's looking good, but you sure could use a long drink.
Yes, we could. If we don't get water in the next 30 days, this crop's going to be damaged seriously.
Okay.
And maybe 2 weeks, I don't know, but we're really needing water.
Well, thank you, Leroy. And now in Strasburg, on the eastern side of Shelby County, is Tim Lenz. And Tim, how are you looking?
Well, we're looking all right.
A little parched,
corn,
maybe?
A little parched. The corn is, it rolls in the afternoon. And we cut some wheat, and especially being so early, we would put something in there, either beans or I've got some beans to go in, and I would even plant a little bit of corn to chop for silage, but there's just no moisture, so we're kind of waiting for a rain on that. So.
Kind of waiting on the weatherman.
Yep.
So, what stage is your corn in?
It's anywhere from, in fact, I just looked at some last night. Some of that was planted, say, the 29th, 30th, 31st of March there's basically 2 more leaves to come out, and then the tassel is right there. So
Really?
You look in the center there, and so that's why it's going to get real critical by about next week, that we do get critical.
How tall is your corn?
That was about, 6 foot.
Really?
In the good areas.
Okay.
In the, like along the edge or in good areas. Of course,
right.
In your lighter areas, it gets shorter. But in the real good areas where things were ideal, it's getting that tall. We've got corn that's only waist high or even thigh high, some that we planted later.
Well, only at this time of year.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
how are your beans looking?
They are growing. We got 4/10 about 12 days ago, and that kind of perked them up a little bit. Some of the earlier ones in 15-inch rows are almost grown together. Of course, the 30-inch rows are not, but they're growing. Of course, people going down the road, things look fine. Our yards are drying up as like it's August, so that at least the topsoil is getting fairly dry.
Yes.
Yeah, but things are still good. We still have potential for a big crop, but by next week just becomes real critical.
Absolutely. So, any pests that you're worried about?
Not really. Of course, you're always worried about something. Actually getting weeds killed here in the beans when it gets dry like this gets tougher.
Right.
But we've sprayed all those for the first time. Hopefully we get a kill, and then hopefully we don't have to respray. But sometimes, if the beans struggle and don't get canopied, then, you do have to maybe, touch up some things. So no, bugs, I'm knocking on wood here. Haven't seen Japanese beetles. Usually they show up early enough that we beat it, but of course the heating degree days just speed the Japanese beetles up.
Speed everything up.
So it still kind of hits you at the same time. But hopefully we'll get away from that. We didn't have the black cutworms that we were projected to have, and so we're sitting all right on that.
Yeah, make sure you have a piece of wood nearby. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Fred.
And now in our own backyard in Coles County, it's Bill Uphoff. And Bill, how are things looking for you?
We're dry and sunny. We kind of needing some water at this point. Things I've been reading, they keep telling us as the days go by, we're going to get to a critical point. So when that critical point is, I guess we haven't been told yet, nor do I know for certain, but I do know that it's been some time since we've had a good root-soaking rain.
Well, how much rain did you get last time?
Since I've talked to you last, I'm thinking we haven't had more than 1 inch.
Well, that's
places.
That's about right for a lot of people I've talked to. So,
Yeah.
what stage is the corn at?
We're approaching the tasseling stage, so we are approaching the V10.
So it's
tassel should be coming out at V12. So we're just 2 leaf collars away now from tassel. So water is going to become critical very rapidly.
So you thinking less than 10 days, a week?
You bet. I think within a week, the earlier corn should be trying to tassel.
So, how are your beans looking?
They're just sitting still. They don't look hurt. They're just doing absolutely nothing. Not growing. Obviously, at the pace we would like them to see for June. At this point, we like to see the beans taking full advantage of the long sunlight hours that we get in June to get their vegetative growth coming on and be ready then for the reproductive phase, which usually happens towards the end of July.
So, in short, you're really, really, really anxious for the next rain system to come through and stay for a while.
We are, Fred. We're doing tricks, all the tricks and all the old wives' tales that we've been taught growing up, and the prayers and all that. But it's out of our hands.
Before long, we'll be getting the face paint out and doing a little dance out there, won't we?
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bill.
You bet.
And last but certainly not least, we head back to Windsor and Shelby County and Matt Bennett. Matt, what does it look like out there?
Well, our crops look pretty good for the most part. We haven't had much rain in quite some time, but we really haven't seen a lot of stress developing. The corn's been rolling just a little bit. Beans haven't grown a ton, but they are growing. And at this point, the main concern is getting a little bit of rain before we go through corn pollination. On our earliest corn, which we planted the 28th of March, we probably need to get a rain in the next 10 days.
So that corn, is it showing signs of getting ready to tassel?
Yeah, I think another leaf or two, and we're going to be tasseling. So it looks like we'll probably be tasseling sometime in the next 10 days.
So it's really critical that you get rain soon.
Yeah, we definitely need to get some rain. It doesn't have to be in abundance, but, if we would get a good timely half-inch of rain, that would probably help us through pollination. So, we just need a little bit of something.
So how are the beans looking?
Beans do look pretty good. I mean, we're not beans a lot of times will just kind of wait on a rain, and so far we're not too concerned with them. I mean, we haven't gotten a ton of growth out of them, but they were planted awfully early, so we've got quite a bit of time to go with them. So we're pretty positive about the way all the crops look, including the beans.
Yeah. How much rain did you get that last rain event we had?
This week we were looking at the radar map, hoping that we were going to get half-inch to an inch, and we ended up getting 1/10 to 2/10 everywhere we farm, except for one farm, one of the southernmost locations. We got an inch of rain, so that was very much welcome. But 90% of what we farm, we didn't get much of anything.
So really, you saw the clouds splitting away from your farms.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. So any pest problems?
We really haven't seen much pest problems just yet. We haven't seen much problems with fungus or anything like that yet. It's been a pretty clean year so far, so it'll be pretty interesting to see how we do going forward. Lots of times when you don't get rain, you don't have a lot of problems with fungus or whatnot, and so it'll be interesting to see if we don't get much rain moving forward, if guys are going to apply fungicide or not.
Really? So, in short, everything's looking good. You just would like a drink.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you, Matt. We'll talk to you soon.
So to summarize, it can be a good year if it's a wet week ahead. As dry as it has been, we've seen some really bad years before, or at least we can read about them. The Dust Bowl wasn't so much a bad year, but years, and to many it felt like a lifetime. Cameron Craig produced an award-winning documentary about the Dust Bowl and how it changed the lives of the people who lived through it and the country as a whole. Over the next several weeks, we're going to show segments of the film, but if you'd like to see the whole thing, we'll have the web address at the end of the segment. And here is part one of Singing Dust and Forgotten Lives.
Through word of mouth of a vast land hopeful of prosperity, farmers from the east would push the frontier westward to reap the benefits of the land west of the Mississippi. Once gold was found in the far west, opportunists began to make their own journey to increase their personal wealth. It was a chance to leave the horrors of debt and the drudgery of their lower class status. To encourage more settlement of the New West, Congress passed the Homestead Act of 1862. The act allowed individuals to obtain 160 acres of prairie for a small fee as long as they occupied and developed it for 5 years. This was an attractive offer that Eastern farmers and merchants could not refuse. After all, the population of the United States was increasing, and the government needed to set the foundation for commercial agriculture. When the Transcontinental Railroad line was completed in 1869, additional railroad lines began to crisscross the landscape to provide food and supplies to the west and return nature's shining economic security to the east. The result of the Homestead Act and the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad was the migration of millions into the plains. Towns dotted the landscape between the east and west. It was the promised land that would provide wonderful economic opportunities for many, unlike the conditions they left in the east. Farming in the east was difficult. The plots were small and congested with old trees that had to be cut down and the stumps removed. If trees weren't a problem, large stones and boulders had to be laboriously removed. Through decades of planting and harvesting, some fields became exhausted, unable to sustain a profitable harvest. Farmers dreamed of a land that was free from stumps and boulders and wanted to gain economic security from selling their supplies. The Great Plains was the answer. A land where the horizon was void of branches of hardwood matting the soil with never-ending roots. It was a land of opportunity, like no other, with rolling hills of tall and short grasses, green, lush, fertile, and undisturbed by human influence.
Prior to settlement of the Great Plains, it was a massive, vast grassland that ran from southern and central Texas all the way up into southern Canada, Manitoba, Alberta, and this massive area of Great Plains was one of the largest grassland complexes in the world. It can only be compared to the steppes of parts of Far Eastern Europe and Russia, as well as the Asia Minor area and the pampas areas of South America, which includes Paraguay and Uruguay. But by far, I really firmly believe that the largest expanse of grassland in the world, believe it or not, is right here in North America.
Sunday is Father's Day, at the bargain basement of special days, probably because most dads would just as soon have a day with little or no drama. I know I do. But just because dads don't want to fuss doesn't mean that you shouldn't thank him in whatever way you do, usually so long as it involves a good hunk of beef and lots of flames. My dad died 20 years ago from throat cancer. Cigarettes are bad, period. And while he was alive, he and I talked about everything and nothing, as fathers and sons do, usually with a lot of silences and shrugs. I loved him and all, but in my 20s, there were days, even weeks, I went on creating my life and didn't really think about him. Since the day he died, there hasn't been a single day I haven't thought about my old man. And there hasn't been a day that I haven't wished I had spent more time talking to him and listening to him. So don't wait until your father's no longer around. Find time to sit with him, listen to the stale old stories, and ask about what it was like when he was 20 or 30 or 40. Just spend some time with the old man. You won't regret it later. So that's it for this week. Work hard, be safe, and enjoy the beautiful sunsets. Oh, and wherever you are, happy Father's Day, old man. I'm Fred Peralta, and thanks for watching the Four Rivers Ag Report. You know, on the Four Rivers Ag Report, we're always looking for news that is of interest to the agricultural and the rural communities. Every week we scour the local papers, the state and national websites. We talk to lots and lots of people every day looking for information that will help and or entertain you. There is one more way that we can find out the latest news, topics, trends, and events that are part of your life. You can tell us. We'd love to hear from you about what's going on in your town, on your farm, or even on your neighbor's farm. If you got a topic you'd like us to talk about, let us know. I probably won't know the answer, but I probably know people who do. Please let us know what is happening. You can call us at 217-581-7245. You can email us at weiu@weiu.net. We're on Facebook at WEIU TV, Public Broadcast Station. And if you tweet, we're on Twitter at WEIU1. So now that you got our number, don't be a stranger.